Let's tell the truth most men ignore. Women don't always value you when you're available, consistent, or overly nice. In fact, in today's dating world, that's often the very reason they overlook you. You can give a woman attention, affection, and consistency, and she'll treat it like background noise. But the moment you stop caring, the moment you pull away, the moment you disappear to focus on yourself, something shifts. Suddenly, she starts valuing what she once ignored. Why does this happen? Because women don't respond to logic. They respond to emotion. And nothing triggers deeper emotion than absence, contrast, and a man's detachment from their validation. A woman who wasn't interested before might suddenly show up months later in your DMs, liking your stories, asking how you've been, acting brand new. Why? Because she's seen the power shift. She can no longer feel your emotional need for her. That neediness she once felt through your energy, gone, replaced by quiet strength. That's the version of you she didn't respect before, but now she's drawn to it like a magnet. And if you play it right, you won't even need to chase her anymore. She'll chase you. You must understand something. Women don't value presence by default. They value impact. And in most cases, the biggest impact you can make is after you walk away, after you stop trying, and after you turn your energy inward. When she realizes she no longer has access to you, when she watches other women notice what she dismissed, when she sees you moving on, that's when you become valuable. Now let's break down exactly why this happens and how you, as a man, can take back control without saying a single word. 1. You stopped seeking her approval. When a man constantly seeks a woman's approval, she can feel it, even when he says nothing. It shows in his actions, his timing, the way he texts, the way he waits on her responses, and even in how much space he allows her to take up in his mind. In the beginning, she may tolerate it, maybe even enjoy the attention. But deep down, she doesn't respect it. Women aren't wired to value what's constantly seeking them. They value what stands on its own. Now here's where the shift happens. The moment you stop needing her approval, she starts questioning what changed. That change disturbs her ego. She was used to being chased. She was used to being the one in control. But now you're not calling like before. You're not texting to check in. You're not available on command. You're not giving her the same emotional priority. You took your power back, not by being rude, but by redirecting your focus. This is when her perception of you begins to evolve. What she once saw as too nice or too available suddenly becomes mysterious and confident. Why? Because confidence is built when your self-worth no longer depends on her validation. You no longer revolve around her attention, and that's rare in today's world. It's important to note this doesn't mean playing games or acting cold. It means you genuinely no longer care about impressing her. You're no longer adjusting your behavior just to stay in her good graces. You're not putting her on a pedestal. You're living your life. Your energy has shifted, and that's what women feel the most. The shift. A woman knows when she's the center of your world, and she also knows when she no longer holds that position. The irony is, the more you stop trying to win her over, the more intrigued she becomes. She starts to wonder if she misjudged you. She questions if maybe you were more valuable than she gave you credit for. And just like that, the seed of attraction starts growing, all because you stopped chasing and started choosing yourself. There's power in your silence, there's magnetism in your absence, and there's something deeply attractive to a woman about a man who doesn't care if she approves of him or not. That's what makes her look again. That's what makes her reconsider. And in many cases, that's exactly what makes her start valuing you after she already passed you up. 2. She saw other women want you. One of the most powerful shifts in a woman's mind happens when she realizes she's not the only one looking at you anymore. A woman might have overlooked you when she thought she had all your attention, but everything changes the moment she sees other women giving you that same energy. Or even more. This taps into something primal, something emotional that logic can't fight. It's not about jealousy in the petty sense. It's about social proof. If other women want you, she starts wondering what she missed. In the modern dating world, value is often defined by perception. A man's true worth is not just measured by his money or looks, but by how women respond to him. When a woman sees that you are desired by others, especially attractive women or high-value women, it triggers her competitive instinct. Women may not always admit this, but they are wired to desire what is validated by other women. It's part of how attraction works. It's not just about how you look, it's about how you're perceived. Here's the thing. You didn't have to flaunt anything. You didn't post women all over your social media. You didn't brag about who wants you. You just started living, connecting, moving with confidence, and women naturally gravitated to you. Maybe they laughed at your jokes. Maybe they texted you first. Maybe you were seen in public with someone beautiful. Whatever it was, it flipped a switch in the woman who once dismissed you. She began to doubt her initial judgment. She started thinking, if other women see value in him, did I miss something? This creates curiosity. Curiosity creates tension, and tension creates attraction. Now the same woman who once brushed you off is checking your social media, watching your stories, trying to figure out who these other women are. Suddenly, she's asking mutual friends about you. She may even test the waters again by reaching out casually. Hey, long time. It's subtle, but it's deliberate. She's trying to regain access. She doesn't want to admit it, but the sight of another woman wanting you activated something deeper. Fear of missing out and fear of replacement. This is why you never chase. Because when you chase, you tell her no one else wants you. But when you're chosen by others, she realizes she had something in her hands, and she let it slip. And now she has to compete. That's when she starts valuing you. A man becomes 10 times more attractive when he's not begging for attention, but instead is quietly being desired by others. You didn't have to say anything. You didn't have to prove a point. You just had to level up, stay present, and let the world, including her, see that you're wanted. That alone is enough to change how she sees you forever. 3. You shifted your energy elsewhere. One of the most underrated moves a man can make when a woman isn't interested is simply this. Shift your energy. Stop trying to convince her. Stop waiting for her to come around. Stop analyzing every message or lack of response. Just take all that energy you were giving her and invest it somewhere else. Into your goals, your appearance, your mental discipline, your work, your life. Not as a tactic, not to get a reaction, but because you realize your energy is currency. And when you give too much of it to someone who doesn't reciprocate, you're running at a loss. Here's the beauty of this shift. Women can feel it even from a distance. She may not have replied to your texts, may have even ghosted you, but when you stop orbiting around her and start radiating in another direction, she feels the silence. That silence is louder than any message. Your emotional withdrawal sends a very clear message. I'm done investing where I'm not appreciated. And that's when things change. At first, she won't say anything. She'll observe. She'll scroll through your updates, notice the difference in your demeanor, your confidence, your presence. You're not bitter. You're not trying to win her over. You're not trying to get noticed. You're just different. You're focused. You've grown past the point of needing her to validate your worth. That energy she used to feel directed toward her, it's gone. And that's exactly why she starts missing it. Women are deeply intuitive when it comes to attention. They can sense when it's genuine, when it's desperate, and when it's absent. When you pull your energy back and reinvest it in your own mission, it forces her to reflect. She starts asking herself questions she never asked before. Why doesn't he look at me the same? Why do I feel like he's slipping away? Was I wrong about him? And just like that, what was once taken for granted becomes rare. Men often forget that attention is power. And when it's directed at someone who doesn't deserve it, it loses value. But when it's pulled back and redirected into building yourself, you become more magnetic. That's when women start taking notice. Not just the one who ignored you, but others too. The confidence, the purpose, the discipline you begin to develop makes you a completely different man. And now, she doesn't just miss your attention, she starts chasing it. By shifting your energy elsewhere, you do something most men never do. You show her that her presence isn't required for you to thrive. You don't say it. You show it. That's real power. That's when you go from the guy who was once chasing to the man she's now watching, admiring, and maybe even regretting letting go. 4. She got bored of the men who chased her. There's a cycle women go through when it comes to attention from men. In the beginning, they enjoy it. The compliments, the good morning texts, the constant validation, it feeds the ego. But over time, that attention becomes noise. And most of the men giving it, they all start to look the same. Predictable, eager, always available, always trying to impress. And what happens to things that are predictable and always available? People get bored. Women especially get bored. She may not even realize it at first. She might entertain the attention, smile at the compliments, reply with a few emojis just to keep the attention flowing. But behind the scenes, she starts to feel it, that emotional flatline. Nothing sparks her curiosity. No mystery, no challenge. Just more guys showing up to do what every other guy does, chase. And then something interesting happens. She remembers you, not because you were just like the others, but because you stopped being one of them. You were there once, yes, but you exited the crowd. You didn't keep dancing for her attention like the others. You fell back. You disappeared. And in a world full of men trying to prove something to her, your silence stands out. Your absence feels unfamiliar. And that unfamiliarity grabs her attention more than any compliment ever could. What most men don't understand is that the more you chase, the more you become forgettable. You become just another voice in the noise. But when you pull back, when you stop showing up like clockwork, when you don't try to win her with effort she didn't ask for, you leave a void. And when all the men she chose over you fail to give her that spark she's looking for, her mind starts to circle back. She compares, she reflects, and she realizes something uncomfortable. All these men chasing her didn't make her feel anything real. They were just options. But the one who walked away, the one who didn't beg, the one who moved on quietly, that man left a mark. He didn't just try to entertain her. He made her feel something different, a loss. And that loss becomes valuable because it wasn't filled by the next guy in line. Here's the truth. The guys she chose after you gave her what she thought she wanted, attention. But they didn't give her what she truly needed, tension, depth, challenge, and presence. So when she gets tired of being admired but not moved, she begins to crave what you represented. She might not say it out loud, but her actions will. She'll come back with softness, with curiosity, maybe even with a little guilt. By doing less, you did more. You didn't try to compete with the crowd. You let them burn themselves out while you built yourself up. And now, after the excitement has died down, after the flattery has worn off, she realizes the man she ignored was the only one who actually stood out. 5. You showed growth without her. One of the biggest shifts in how a woman views you happens when she sees that you've grown, not because of her, but without her. At first, when she wasn't interested, she may have believed you'd stay the same. Maybe she saw you as predictable, emotionally available on demand, or lacking a certain edge. In her mind, you were stuck in one version of yourself. But here's the reality. When a man stops chasing and starts evolving, everything changes. Not just his appearance or income, but his energy, his presence, his aura. And that's what shakes her. See, most men go into emotional decline after a woman loses interest. They spiral. They lose confidence. They chase harder, shrink smaller, and try to prove they're worthy of attention. That only confirms to the woman that she made the right choice by losing interest. But the man who walks away and levels up, that man confuses her. She expected him to stay where she left him. But now he's different. He carries himself with more confidence. He has purpose in his steps. His time is guarded. His lifestyle is growing. And maybe, just maybe, he's even harder to access. That's when her perception shifts from disinterest to regret. Growth without her means you didn't need her to become your best self. You didn't wait for her to recognize your value. You became valuable through action. Maybe you started hitting the gym and your physique changed. Maybe your income increased, your style improved, your network expanded. Or maybe your mindset became stronger, calmer, more focused. Whatever it was, it became visible. And women notice growth more than they admit. They might scroll through your photos, hear about you through friends, or run into you unexpectedly. And in that moment, they realize you're not who you were when they overlooked you. And it hurts their ego. Why? Because deep down, every woman wants to believe she was special enough to unlock your greatness. But you didn't need her. You did it on your own. And that creates a different kind of respect. The kind that turns passive indifference into active curiosity. Now she wants to know more about you. She wants to understand who you've become. She starts questioning her past decision. Did I give up too early? Was he the one that got away? How did he evolve like this? Here's the most important part. You didn't grow to get her back. You grew because that's what real men do. You faced rejection, used it as fuel, and built yourself up. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. That's the part that leaves a lasting impression. That's the part that makes you unforgettable. A woman may not value you when you're standing still, but once you start moving, upward, forward, and without her, she'll start chasing what she once ignored. Because true growth makes you undeniable. And once you become undeniable, even the woman who left you behind can't help but look back. 6. Scarcity. Hit her mind. There's a moment in every woman's mind when the man she once ignored starts to feel like he's slipping away for good. Not just out of her phone, not just off her radar, but out of her life. That's when scarcity hits her. That's when reality sinks in. And when a woman starts to feel that emotional scarcity, that she no longer has access to your time, your attention, or your energy, everything changes. You have to understand how the female brain works when it comes to value. It's not always about what you gave her, it's about how hard it is to get it again. If you were always available, always reaching out, always emotionally present, she never had to earn it. It was easy. And what comes easy? It gets taken for granted. But the second that energy disappears, the second she starts noticing that your name doesn't pop up anymore, that your messages have stopped, that your calls are silent, she's forced to confront the loss. Scarcity is powerful. It creates urgency. It makes a woman second-guess her decisions. She starts to wonder if another woman is getting the version of you she once ignored. She questions whether she misread your potential. She reflects on how she used to have access to you but doesn't anymore. And the fear of missing out becomes real. Not in a playful, ego-boosting way, but in a deeper emotional sense. When a man pulls back completely, and that space he once occupied remains empty, the woman is left alone with her thoughts. No more notifications, no more emojis, no more good morning texts or subtle check-ins. It's just silence. And the silence is loud. That's what wakes her up. She realizes that attention wasn't just attention, it was connection, it was care, it was emotional presence. And now it's gone. This is why timing matters. You didn't force her to miss you. You didn't guilt-trip her. You didn't try to convince her of your worth. You just removed yourself. You became scarce, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And that scarcity became your most powerful move. Most men don't understand that women rarely miss you while you're still around. They miss you after they believe they can't have you anymore, after the door starts to close, after they realize you no longer need them, want them, or think about them the same way. That's when the value of what you once gave her finally hits. Now she looks at your old messages differently. She replays old conversations in her mind. She starts liking your pictures again, hoping you'll notice. Maybe she sends that classic "Hey stranger" text, not because she has something to say, but because she wants to test if the door is still open. But what she's really reacting to is scarcity. She thought you'd always be there, and now you're not. That's when she starts valuing you, not because you did something different, but because you did less. You walked away, you stayed gone, and that made all the difference. 7. You became emotionally unavailable. Emotional unavailability is not about being cold or heartless. It's about becoming selective with who gets access to your feelings, your energy, and your inner world. And when you shift from being open and emotionally invested in a woman who didn't value you to becoming emotionally unavailable, not as a tactic, but as a truth, it sends a message that hits her deeper than any words ever could. It tells her, you had your chance. See, in the beginning, you were open, you were willing, you wanted something real, you showed interest, you gave her consistency, you offered space for something meaningful to grow, and what did she do? She treated it like it was always going to be there. She didn't take it seriously. She responded when she felt like it. She expected you to wait. And for a while maybe you did, but something changed. You saw the lack of respect. You felt the emotional imbalance. And instead of continuing to pour yourself into a one-sided connection, you pulled back and didn't return. You became emotionally unavailable, not out of revenge, but out of wisdom. You understood your worth. You realized your emotions are valuable and shouldn't be wasted on someone who didn't protect them. This is where the tables turn. The woman who once had full access now finds herself locked out. She tries to re-engage you with old tactics. She flirts, she laughs at your jokes again, she sends those just thinking about you texts. But now, you're detached. You respond differently. You're harder to read. Your energy isn't emotionally accessible anymore. You're present, but you're not vulnerable. You listen, but you don't reveal. You're calm, but not invested. And that drives her crazy, because what made her feel in control before, your emotional availability, is now gone. And what used to be predictable, your reactions, your presence, your interest, has now become uncertain. You've become a mystery. And women chase mystery harder than they chase attention. This kind of emotional distance forces her to look inward. She starts asking herself, why doesn't he open up to me anymore? Why do I feel like I lost something valuable? Why do I suddenly care so much? And the answer stares her in the face. Because now you don't need her emotionally, and that makes you powerful. Emotional unavailability after rejection or disrespect is not weakness, it's protection. It shows you've evolved past the need to be chosen by someone who once made you feel small. You've built emotional boundaries, and women can feel that. The same woman who once ignored your feelings now desperately wants to feel them again. But now you're guarded, you're focused, you're grounded. You're no longer playing emotional games. You're emotionally reserved for someone who deserves it. And that's the moment she starts valuing you, because she knows she no longer has access to the part of you that once chased her. The truth is simple. Women often don't value you when you're too available, too eager, or too emotional. But the moment you pull back, grow, and become emotionally distant, something shifts. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. She starts to feel the weight of your silence, the strength in your distance, and the power of your evolution. You didn't force her to value you. You simply became the kind of man who no longer needs to be chosen to feel complete. And that right there is when she finally sees your worth. Now she chases.